Hello, the next thing we are going to talk about is collaging things onto your mask. So what you are going to use if you want to collage two-dimensional or flat paper, fabric, things like that to your mask is you're going to use decoupage, which is also called Mod Podge. So Mod Podge is like the brand name. I'm going to have these little baby food containers for you, similar to what we use for our slip. So if the container is empty, you don't have to let me know. You can just take the big bottle and just refill it, and then at the end of class you just put the lid on it and leave it back at the supply table for somebody next hour to use. This is not an actual plaster mask, but what I want to show you is, because I'm going to be demonstrating on a flat piece of canvas, it's not going to be exactly the same as it will be for you on your plaster mask. Primarily what you need to know is, if you're going to be collaging onto your mask, you don't want to use big pieces of whatever it is you want to be collaging. So you could use anything that's porous, okay, so that will absorb the decoupage, and anything that is flat. So any sort of paper, could be photocopies, could be magazine images, could be fabric that you've painted on, paper that you've drawn on, paper that you've painted on, yarn, ribbon, shoelaces. But the thing is, if you use too big of a piece, unless it's, something very flexible like fabric, but like this piece of paper, you can see it's not really going to mold onto that surface without getting really wrinkled up, okay? So if you use the same thing but in smaller pieces, it's much easier to get it to take on that form of your mask because of those smaller pieces. All right, so now I'm going to switch to the canvas board here. Collaging is really easy. You might want to think about, though, what we talked about in the paint demonstrations is, do you want to cover the surface of your mask with paint maybe, so that if you're not covering every square inch with your collage material, are we seeing a color of the paint rather than just the raw plaster? Okay, so that might be something to think about before you get started collaging. So you're going to have your decoupage. You're going to use your finger because decoupage pretty much ruins paintbrushes, and you're just going to put a layer of the decoupage down, and you're going to do it in sections. Don't cover the whole mask with decoupage because it's going to dry. By the time you get finished with this little section over here, all of this decoupage will be dry. So you just do it in small sections. This is just tissue paper. One thing to know about tissue paper is that there is bleed tissue paper and non-bleed tissue paper. So if it's bleed tissue paper, that color, the pigment from the tissue paper, will spread. So that might not be a big deal for you if you're using many colors, though. You might not like that because your colors will kind of mix together. So then after you apply whatever your material is, you put a layer over the top. And you just work your way around. You will want to cover the edges of the mask as well. So just like on my canvas board here, rather than having these white edges show, I can just let this wrap right over that edge. So that is covered as well. Sometimes I'll collage materials onto a surface just to get an interesting texture before I add my paint or charcoal or chalk pastel or whatever on top. So if you want a texture, rather than putting these on really like flat and smooth, maybe you're going to kind of have them be like kind of wrinkled up and bunched up, depending on what your idea or concept is, or visually how you want that to look, what you're going to be putting on top of it. If these had images on them, how that would affect the images, right? But now we have like some wrinkled up texture there. Okay, so that's tissue paper. This is just a regular paper. It's just a little bit different color. Same process. Put the decoupage down, put the decoupage over the top. The layer over the top just kind of seals it in. It will dry clear. It's not going to dry white, so you won't see it, and it will be a little bit kind of shiny and glossy. Okay. Something you do want to be aware of is a type of material that is not